What's up? What's happening, folks? Welcome back to the channel Sports, Life, and Politics TV. I'm Samuel Koppel, and I'm here for the news. Today, we're going to go over a clip of an American contractor killed in Syria by a drone attack launched by what they say, allegedly, pro-Iranian militia groups in Syria. Now, anything that has to do with the Middle East has to be taken with a grain of salt. Because what they told us before about weapons of mass destruction in Iraq turned out to be a total lie. I've said in other videos before, America has the greatest propaganda machine on the planet Earth. They have more news outlets. They have more media stations, media pundits. They just have everything that you would need to run a superb propaganda program. Now, is that a slight to America? Absolutely not. All great superpowers have propaganda. All of them indulge in it. All of them are trying to be the best at it. Just so happened at this particular moment in history, nobody's better than America at dispersive propaganda. Now, everything they said could be true. But we know everything that's said on the media is usually not true. I always say this. They like to tell you convenient truths. If you ask your old lady, where did you go a while ago? She said to the store. That might be true. You ask her where she went yesterday. She said to the store. That wasn't true. One of those was a convenient truth. People tell the truth a lot of times out of convenience when it's something that can help them or benefit them. But we're going to go over this clip and we're going to ask some questions during this video that when you watch the normal news channel, you just don't get the goddamn questions you want to ask. Like, why are nobody asking these questions on these news channels? But obviously all these news channels are in cahoots with one another. And a lot of times if you watch one CBS, NBC, CNN, Fox, you'll usually get kind of the same answers over and over again. But let's take a look at the clip.
Good evening and welcome. We began with American warplanes in action over Syria, conducting what officials call precision airstrikes in response to a drone attack against Americans that killed one U.S. contractor and wounded 5 service members. President Biden ordering the retaliatory strikes. U.S. officials saying the targets were linked to Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps. The U.S. saying the base where the Americans were operating in eastern Syria was struck by a one-way drone believed to be of Iranian origin. Tonight, 3 defense officials telling NBC News one of the radars used to warn of incoming threats was down for maintenance at the time of the attack. The U.S. meantime called...
Let me stop it right there. They said one of the main radars used was down for maintenance. Now we know with modern technology, computers and all of these things that we use, laptops, tablets, phones, they do need updates. But for you to try to sell me that is damn near impossible. Why? Because this is the greatest military power in the world. They're gonna have backups. They're gonna have backups to the backups. So if one radar is down, you telling me that allowed an inferior drone, using inferior drone technology to scoop past, slip past the other radar systems and slam into that? Or allegedly, did they let it slide past? And I'm going to ask them more questions here a little bit later, but I just want to, touch on that. Hear that one more time.
Defense officials telling NBC News one of the radars used to warn of incoming threats was down for maintenance at the time of the attack. The U.S. meantime calling a separate rocket attack against another coalition base this morning ineffective with no American casualties. Peter Alexander is traveling with the president in Canada tonight.
Tonight, new details about that deadly drone attack that killed an American contractor on a base in Syria launched by pro-Iranian forces. And now a new investigation looking into how it could have happened, with NBC News learning one of the radars used to detect incoming threats and protect the base was down for maintenance at the time of the drone strike. according to 3 U.S. defense officials. It's not clear what...
Now, they said, according to 3 U.S. defense officials, one of the radars was down. One of the radars was down. So you basically telling me the other 2 radars don't work. I mean, sometimes some of this shit is such common sense, it's ridiculous. One of them was down. It's a reason why you have multiple, because if one down, the other one picks it up. It's not like it's 1946 and the radar only works by pointing in one specific direction and it can only pick up, man, these motherfucking radars is picking up 360 degrees. Who in the fuck are you selling that to? I mean, they really think people are idiots nowadays. But, you know, obviously they put it out here. They know that when you put these things out here, there are enough people who will believe everything that they just said. But not right here on Sports Life and Politics TV. You can't slip that shit past Samuel Coppell. No way, no how.
That factored into the drone reaching a populated part of the base. The Pentagon saying U.S. intelligence believes the drone was...
Wait a minute. Hold on. Let me hear that one more time. Sorry. Let me go back.
U.S. defense officials. It's not clear whether that factored into the drone reaching a populated part of the base.
So basically he was saying it reached a populated part of the base. Brother, if the most populated part of the base, that's where you would have the radars mostly at. There's nothing more important than the people. But like I said before, man, on this small base, the radars that the United States will have right there will be powerful and strong as hell. They can pick up fucking hummingbirds. They need to stop with the bullshit. And they're not working in just one direction at 360 degrees, you guys.
Pentagon's saying U.S. intelligence believes the drone was of Iranian origin.
And they say they believe it was Iranian origin. They believe. They didn't say we know 100% for a fact this is Iranian origin. Here's the proof. They said they believe. You got to be careful with words. Words are extremely important.
6 Americans were wounded, 5 of them service members.
Iranian-backed militant groups used an unmanned aerial vehicle to strike one of our facilities, causing several American casualties.
While aboard Air Force One, President Biden ordering U.S. retaliation with what the Pentagon describes as precision strikes by 2 F-15s on sites used by groups affiliated with Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard, including, a U.S. defense official says, buildings housing drone and aviation assets and vehicles used by those groups.
The United States...
And you seen that? What they just shown you, that wasn't real. That was computer generated. We don't know exactly what they struck. We have no idea. Obviously we're not going to be on the ground in Syria, and we can't see exactly what they hit. We know they went after some important targets, but we have no idea what the hell the United States are, what they're targeting and why they're targeting it. And let me say this, while this just came to my mind, just popped in my mind. Who's in cahoots with Russia and China? Just so happened to be Syria and Iran. If you think that's a coincidence, because I covered this, I've been covering the Russian and the Ukrainian war. I didn't cover the China and Taiwan and the war, not the war, but the battle of the Pacific, for the Pacific between the Chinese and America. America has a lot of naval ships over there, submarines in the Pacific, and I've talked about that. Now Syria and Iran is in cahoots. Now what just happened in Ukraine? They just said they want to give Ukraine some Abrams tanks. And then I think it was another country, it escapes my mind, but it's another European country that was going to give them fighter jets. And that'd be good, goddamn. Now it just dawned on me too. Also, the video I made when the American drone was shot down over the Black Sea, I asked in that video, I wonder, did they do this shit in order to be able to continue to help Ukraine or have a justified excuse? And the same thing I'm wondering right here. God damn it. God damn it. The Scooby-Doo mystery van couldn't sniff this shit out no better than this.
does not emphasize seek conflict with Iran, but be prepared for us to act forcefully, protect our people. That's exactly what happened last night.
Roughly 900 American troops and hundreds of contractors are stationed in Syria, helping Kurdish forces in the fight against ISIS. Those Americans under constant threat. 78 attacks on bases housing U.S. and coalition troops in Iraq and Syria over the last 2 years.
Boom, there's a smoking gun. Look, if there's been 78 attacks over the last 2 years, and they haven't really covered that shit, why are they covering that shit today? Why? There's been 78 attacks, we haven't heard of none of that shit. Why? Because now the propaganda machine allegedly wants to let us know, hey, there been 78 attacks over here. We ain't really did nothing. We just been standing by, chilling, and they just been attacking us and attacking us, the greatest superpower on earth, and we done nothing. We just been like Martin Luther King. We been turned the other cheek. We like Jesus. We let you just slap us, and then, oh, no. Bullshit. That's because now with China and Russia coming together, you've seen it all over the news where the Chinese president was meeting with the Russian president. And now you have the Iranians and the Syrians who's in cahoots with those two, and they all four of them are in cahoots together. Now all of a sudden they in there sending F-15s in Syria to strike certain targets.
Many of them, U.S. Central Command says, carried out by Iran or Iranian-backed groups. And just hours after the U.S. retaliated, another attack on a separate coalition base, 10 rockets. But U.S. officials say no casualties.
This rocket attack was done in an effort to retaliate from last night's attacks. Again, they did not cause any damage at the coalition facility.
That's because all of the technology that they're using is inferior. That's why I say that drone slipping through, get out of here. You're not letting no drone slip through. You listen to me. You couldn't even fly a DJI fucking drone over there around that base. I'm talking about little drones. Nevertheless, a drone that big. They got all type of magnetic interference. Man, I went to Hawaii and I tried to take my drone off, and that shit was around not too far from Pearl Harbor in a certain area, man. That shit had all type of magnetic interference. You couldn't even get that shit off the ground. These people are full of shit. And do I think they let that shit through? Allegedly, yes.
And late tonight, we just learned that several more rockets were fired at another coalition base in Syria, injuring one American serviceman. Lester?
And Peters, we said you're traveling with the president. He just announced a new immigration agreement with Canada.
Yeah, that's right. The deal is designed to deter the record number of migrants crossing into the
Wait a minute. How you gonna just slip that in? U.S. and Canada announced border deal. So I guess now you're gonna be able to go back and forth through Canada with free will. Next is Mexico. So this is just gonna be one big super fucking country. Mexico, United States, and Canada. Unbelievable.
U.S. from Canada at the northern border. It's significant because it allows both Canada and the U.S. to send back illegal border crossers. But Lester, to be clear, the number of migrants crossing through Canada pales in comparison to the number crossing the southern border.
Look, you guys, this is the reason why I go over these videos, because some of this shit is common sense, but some of this shit people just don't know or they're not paying attention to. And I just like to cover these things so, you know, you can get a different perspective. And you can start to understand that, hey, man, there's a lot of shit happening around the world. It's bigger than just us. What that man said on New Jack City, it's bigger than just Nino Brown, baby. It's bigger than just Nino Brown. Shit, you gotta let the truth come out. But I'm gonna give you one more. I'm gonna give you a bonus clip. Seized photos, North Korea says, are from nuclear capable underwater submersibles. Let's take a look. Uh-oh, this is the same one. Let me go back.
New information tonight on the North Korean strongman's brutality and his unrelenting ambition to threaten his enemies. With these photos showing tracks just under the surface, Kim Jong-un's regime claims to have tested an underwater drone capable of carrying a nuclear warhead. Kim himself was photographed beaming next to a drone. North Korean state media says the mission of this weapon is to, quote, make a super-scale radioactive tsunami to destroy enemy warships and ports. It claims this drone traveled underwater for nearly 60 hours, then detonated a warhead and blew up a mock enemy port. Some analysts are skeptical of the real capability of this weapon.
There's a lot.
And let me say this, for those who might not know or do know, but obviously America went to war with Korea in the 1950s. After World War II, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was somewhere around 1956, 57, something like that. And in that, the Americans ended up coming to basically a truce with the North Koreans. The North Koreans was funded by the communist Russians, Chinese, and they ended up realizing, hey, we can't win this battle. There's too much bloodshed, and we ended up being in South Korea, and North Korea ended up being what North Korea is today, where they became a brutal dictatorship, and at all costs wanted South Korea back, just like in Vietnam, when the Viet Cong and the North Vietnamese wanted South Vietnam back. But yeah, North Korea will do anything, whether it starve its own people, completely isolate itself from the rest of the world. It will do anything under its power to not let the United States gain another inch into North Korea. So this is one of those things where you'll see North Korea is constantly trying to upgrade its weapon systems. How far are they behind the United States? Very far. I would say if the United States from a scale of 1 to 100 and take United States at 97, North Korea is somewhere around 52. Yeah, they're pretty far behind the United States, but they do have a strong military. They have fanatical soldiers and troops, and they have a bunch of artillery, and they have nuclear weapons, Not a lot, but enough to, one is enough to deter a motherfucker. So, but they do have that. So keep the video going.
We don't understand about how they're controlling this weapon, whether it's pre-programmed or whether they're actively maneuvering this thing underwater.
And Ankit Panda says this drone would likely be vulnerable to being destroyed by the U.S. and South Korean navies before it flushes out to sea. But he says it could still be a threat.
There's nothing preventing North Korea from, in principle, putting a nuclear device on an underwater vehicle like this and detonating it. They could use it against massed formations of surface warships.
In testing
and let me say this. The number one thing you would have to do against the United States, you would have to do it in numbers. Because obviously we have technology to destroy damn near any and everything. But if you send enough, something can slip through. And all you need when you're talking about nuclear capability is one to slip through, especially with a bunch of ships on the water. And, you can cause catastrophic damage.
Underwater drone. Kim takes a page from Vladimir Putin's playbook. Russia claims to have developed a submarine-launched nuclear-powered underwater vehicle designed to strike enemy cities with nuclear weapons. But the Kremlin's offered no real proof of it. In recent days, Kim has apparently been successful in testing another menacing weapon. From mobile launchers, North Korea fired off long-range nuclear-capable cruise missiles. Eye-catching video shows the missiles hugging coastlines and mountains.
These aircraft fly fairly low.
And these missile capabilities, these are the type of cruise missiles the United States was using against Iraq in the first Gulf War. So that goes to show you how, like I said, how far behind they are. They basically using missiles that the United States was using in the 90s. And I'm talking about early 90s. Yeah, so, but nonetheless, they still kill, maim, blow up and destroy, but the United States has so much technology to try to shoot that shit down. That's why a lot of these superpowers now, China, Russia, not North Korea, but even North Korea, Iran, they're practicing on shooting satellites out of the sky, cutting what you would call fiber optic cords at the bottom of the ocean, where all the internet information flows. The only way to hurt the United States is cutting off information. That's the number one thing they use to coordinate everything to wage war.
And if they will be nuclear armed, that's going to present, I think, a substantial challenge for missile defense and warning in Northeast Asia.
This comes as a new report from human rights watchdog group Korea Future details barbarous conditions inside Kim's network of prisons. What it says was a pattern of summary executions, torture, rape, and starvation. At least one prisoner, it said, was forced to eat cockroaches and rodents to survive. A woman jailed for crossing the border into China, the report says, was forced to have an abortion when she was 7 or 8 months pregnant.
Any drop of foreign blood dropped into North Korea is an offense to the Kim regime, and thus these poor ladies had relationships with Chinese men and were forcibly returned, are subjected to this criminal treatment.
The white man has a lot of nerve, no disrespect, but they used to do the same thing with Negroes. Obviously, they don't do it today, but the one drop of blood rule is not nothing new. Is it right? I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but look, man, do I care what's happening in North Korea? Absolutely not. I care from a global aspect of just being informed and wanting to know about what's happening around the world, but far as care, where it's just like affecting me, like, oh my God, what am I going to do? What am I going to do about the torture camps in North Korea? I just don't know. No. And neither do you. But you do want to be informed about what's going on and what's happening. You see the nuclear capabilities. They're talking about using underwater drones now. You know, it's not a new technology, but it's a newer technology that's obviously they're talking about, because we haven't heard about this a lot. You know, underwater drones. So
North Korea's mission to the UN has not responded to CNN's request for comment on the new report, but Kim's regime often denies allegations of human rights abuses, claiming they're part of a smear campaign organized, of course, by the U.S.
But yeah, you guys, I just want to go over those two clips, you know, cover a little worldwide news, check in and tap in and see what's going on with these drone attacks. Obviously, Russia dropped some fuel on top of a Reaper drone, which Reaper means death. So that was an attack drone. So, I mean, who knows what's going on, man? All we really get is the propaganda part of the news. And, you know, you got to take it with a grain of salt. You got to try to read in between the lines. Because a lot of times they'll tell you the truth, but you just got to listen very closely. And you got to parse each word that they're saying. So, you know, I just want to go over those couple clips. I appreciate you guys tuning in. This has been Sports, Life, and Politics TV. I'm Samuel Koppel. I'm here for the news. Hit that like. Hit that subscribe. I just took your ass on an underwater goddamn drone ride. Peace.